Hi, I'm Rob Sanford for TeamDefiance.com. Just a few minutes ago, we talked about throwing surface iron with a long rod, an 8 or a 9 or a 10-foot glass rod. Now, we're going to talk about vertically fishing yo-yo jigs, whether that's a mega bait or a Tatty 4.0 or a heavy Tatty 9 or some of the other heavy jigs that are out there, Salis 7X, some of the heavy jigs that you're going to want to yo-yo with. You'll notice the gear's a little bit different. I'm still using a narrow reel. This is a Trinidad Narrow 16. But I've gone to a Seeker Black Steel. And the Black Steel is a great choice for this type of fishing because not only does it have the glass in the rod, the E-glass to help that rod with the softness on the tip, but 2/3 of the blank is wrapped with graphite, so it's a real fast recoil. And the Black Steel is a very, very good tool. It's also a little shorter rod because we're fishing a little closer to the boat. We don't need to make that long cast. Now, on a jig like this, which is a mega bait, they act a little different than the popular knife jigs that people have used as of the last few years. A mega bait or similar baits like them will flutter as they go down. They flutter very effectively. They don't drop fast. They flutter and dart in different directions. So a lot of times if I'm fishing a mega bait and I want to pitch that bait out, I'm just going to let that bait sink. And as it's sinking and fluttering and going in different directions, especially if you're in a couple of 1,000 feet of water, if the jig stops, you know that a fish has picked it up. If that's the case, and that jig has stopped about halfway down to your 100 or 200 foot desired depth, you want to put the reel in gear, wind down to that fish, obviously. You know, you're going to wind right down to it and swing because that fish has picked it up on the drop. Now, another effective way to do a vertical yo-yo is to go ahead and take the jig and pitch the jig on out away from the boat a little ways. If you're going to pitch the jig out far enough to where it's coming fluttering down on an angle, you'll get a little more flutter, plus you'll cover more of the water column on the way up. If you're not really comfortable with underhanding or pitching a jig, you can overhand cast one like this. It's a little harder with a shorter rod. But another easy way to do it is to fish with the wind in your face. Very rarely when you're out tuna fishing or sliding up on patties do you ever drop an anchor, just simply because you're in too deep water. So if you keep the wind in your face with no angles and no tangles, you want to make sure that you drop that jig with the wind in your face because the boat is going to be drifting downwind, and that's going to naturally carry your jig out away from the boat. So it's going to cover more of the water column as it flutters down, and you're going to bring it back on an angle as opposed to straight up. Sometimes fish will hit a jig coming straight up, sometimes they'll hit it on an angle, sometimes they'll hit it on the sink. So you got to be aware at all times. Now when you're going to wind that jig up, you don't want to just turn the handle. You want to go ahead and bounce that jig up like this, and bounce it up in a yo-yo manner, so where it's darting and skittering through the water, so it appears like it's a bait fish trying to escape attack, or it's wounded. And a lot of times you'll draw a strike from a fish that normally wouldn't hit a bait because it's reactionary, it's instinctive. They see something that's in a panic or something that's trying to get away in an erratic manner, and they'll hit it just kind of reactively. So that's a good effective way to get some fish to bite that normally wouldn't. It's a little different technique than fishing the long rod for the surface iron, but very, very effective at times. So it needs to be in part of your arsenal. For Defiance Boats and TeamDefiance.com, I'm Rob Sanford. Thanks.